Good evening to all of you. My name is Raj Kumar. I'm the founding Vice Chancellor of OP Jindal Global University. It is indeed my proud privilege to welcome all of you to this colloquium on first generation lawyers on the theme legal careers, professional recognition, and social impact. I have with me a very distinguished set of lawyers who have made a mark in their life and have steadfastly worked to reach where they are today. Before I introduce them, let me give a brief introduction to the theme of today's colloquium. We live in a country where the constitution of our nation is governed and protected by the law. We survive on the hope that when everything fails, justice prevails. A lawyer's journey is embodied by the very demands of justice, of bringing order to social chaos, to resolving complex commercial disputes, and to seek redemption for those exposed to criminal injustice. Lawyers are faced with the pressures of accountability and responsibility of a wide range of injustices and inequalities that exist around us. The legal career gives one the opportunity to make the world a better place and serve justice to those who need it the most. At the same time, a lawyer's life also entails long hours of hard work, commitment, dedication, demanding clients, high-stake decision-making, lengthy court trials before they achieve their fullest aspirations of success. However, the ability to make a difference to the lives of people and make a social impact in different forms makes this career path extremely rewarding and personally satisfying. And yet, like any other profession, this path may also have its own potential challenges, including nepotism and indeed a deficit of diversity. The very composition of this panel reflects the success and the impact one can achieve through a legal career. It shows the success of the legal profession in the ability to overcome these challenges and complexities of law to deliver justice. From making social impact to overcoming hurdles to sustaining the legal careers to growing into positions of leadership, the outstanding first generation lawyers on this panel have built a journey from which we can have a better and a more magnified understanding of law as a career. What motivates a lawyer? What is being done today to provide first generation lawyers a level playing field for those who come from prior legal background within the immediate and extended family? What are the opportunities for social innovation in the legal profession? What measures are being taken to recognize the contribution of lawyers to law firms and courtrooms? What are the best ways of approaching the daily dilemmas lawyers are exposed to? How does one balance their idealism with the realities of the world to achieve the state of justice we committed ourselves to? This colloquium is indeed an important platform to hear from some of the most important and accomplished contributions of the Indian legal profession and better understand their personal life stories and professional life journeys, including the legal careers, professional recognition, and social impact. I have with me a very distinguished set of lawyers. Let me start with Ms. Vinita Bhargav. Vinita is a partner at Ketan & Co. She's a senior member of the dispute resolution team in the New Delhi office. She's also an advocate on record in Supreme Court. She has almost 20 years of experience in a variety of matters, including matters relating to constitutional law, taxation law, environmental law, civil law, corporate law, mining law, forest law, and many other areas of law. Her fora of practice include the Supreme Court, the High Court, the National Green Tribunal, the Mining Tribunal, the National Company Law Tribunal. She has been recognized as one of the top 15 disputes lawyers by Asian Legal Business. Welcome to this program, Vinita. Let me introduce Mr. Pramod Kumar Dubey. Mr. Dubey is an advocate at the High Court of Delhi. He studied law at the Campus Law Center, Faculty of Law, University of Delhi. He graduated in the year 1995 and started a career in litigation in Delhi courts. During his 25 years of practice at the bar, Mr. Dubey has appeared in matters across various courts in India. Being an expert in criminal law, the prosecution has also sought his counsel. He has undertaken various cases from the side of the prosecution, such as the Arushi Talwar murder case and the Gopal Khanda murder case, Stock Guru scam, etc. He represented the Delhi police as a special prosecutor in various cases. He has participated in LCIA proceedings in Paris and appeared in international arbitration as well. Thank you, Mr. Dubey, for joining us in this colloquium. We have with us Mr. Sudhir Mishra, who is the founder and managing partner of Trust Legal Advocates and Consultants. Sudhir is one of the leading and eminent media, broadcasting, music infrastructure, and environmental lawyers of the country. Sudhir has also developed considerable practice in the field of music laws, having advised key industry players on issues involving transactional IPR. He's on the advisory board of Publications of Business World and Exchange for Media. In 27, World Health and Wellness awarded Trust Legal as Law Firm of the Year under the category of Healthcare Practice. Thank you, Sudhir, for joining us in this program. We have with us Mr. Roshan Santalia, who's an advocate on record in the Supreme Court of India. Roshan completed his BA LLB from the Nalsar University of Law, Hyderabad in 2011, a master's degree in criminal justice from the University of Oxford in 2012. Roshan also qualified as an advocate on record at the Supreme Court in 2018. He has more than 8 years of post-qualification experience representing his clients before the Supreme Court of India and Delhi High Court. Criminal and constitutional law remains the area of interest and focus for the chambers. In addition to this, the chambers also represents its clients in the domain of commercial, arbitration, and inheritance disputes. Thank you very much, Roshan, for joining us today. We have with us Mr. Saket Shukla, who is a co-founding partner of Phoenix Legal, a leading law firm in India. Saket focuses on strategic advisory, M&A, and corporate transactional work, and has extensive experience advising on complex deals and issues in the insurance sector. Saket has been advising clients in the insurance sector for over 2 decades and has seen the industry evolve into its current position. He regularly advises foreign investors and promoters working in various sectors. His experience includes advising on complicated and cutting-edge work, including M&A, regulatory issues, structuring joint ventures, and foreign investment. Thank you, Saket, for joining us in this evening's colloquium. Let me begin with Vinita. Vinita, in some ways, you are an inspiration to so many young lawyers who aspire to be a lawyer without an immediate family background. And we know that legal profession, like many other professions, also suffers from a high degree of nepotism. What has been the journey of your legal career like? What motivated you to pursue a career in law? What kind of hurdles have you had to overcome to achieve the success and impact that you've accomplished? Over to you.
Thank you, Raj. And first of all, Raj, I thank you for believing that I have achieved some amount of success and impact and deeming it fit to make me part of this colloquium. So it wasn't an epiphany that one day I just realized I had to be a lawyer. My dad always told me I should pursue it, but I didn't take him seriously, as most of us do. In fact, I wanted to be a mountaineer or join the army or do something other than what was conventional. Well, at that time in the early 90s, we were still a conventional lot, unlike the kids of today. So I had to choose something that would give financial stability. I was a student of commerce and thought of pursuing a conventional MBA. I joined a diploma course in personnel management where I, for the first time, enjoyed labor laws as a subject. And that's how I grudgingly admitted my dad was right and went in for law. The good part is I enjoyed it and was interested in what I was doing as a student, as an intern, and a lawyer, and continue to do so. And that, I think, is the most important part of any career, to enjoy what you do for a living. Otherwise, any amount of hard work, contacts, etc., all are of no avail if your heart is not into it. I think everyone, be it a first-generation lawyer or otherwise, faces hurdles, maybe of different kinds, but all of us do. The first time I realized that you need what you say contacts in this profession is when I was looking for an internship in the late 90s, which was not mandatory back then and was not rooted through college. It's ironical, but at that time, I could not imagine getting an internship in the firm I'm a partner in today, simply because I wasn't aware of who to approach. And I think the hurdles one faces is facing one's own anxieties and lack of conviction in oneself. Considering my financial background and considering law was not very lucrative for a fresher when I started out, I even thought of changing my career path, but I knew in my heart I would never enjoy that.
Well, I'm glad you did not change it and you've made a mark in your profession as well.
And in fact, it was you, Raj, who at that time said things work out if you're passionate about what you do for a living. So though money is important, but don't aim for it in the beginning. So I guess that's the message which you passed on to me. I would like to pass on to the young.
That's so sweet of you to recollect that. But thank you very much for that. It's a great way to start today's colloquium. Let me move to Pramod. Pramod, you know, there are 1,600 law schools in India. Every year we graduate some 75,000 plus law graduates. There are 1.5 million plus lawyers. But you know what? There are some people who end up being more privileged than others. Some people who end up having better than others. Your story is so compellingly inspiring. Tell us your story. What an extraordinary journey you have had from such humble beginnings to where you are today?
Thank you, Professor Rajkumar, giving me opportunity to share my experience and the journey. At the outset, I would like to mention, I'm not sitting here with the feeling that I have achieved something and I'm the successful person. Success, unsuccess, these all are the subjective thing. It's the perception of the people, not the person itself. So here I'm sitting to just explain my journey. I completed my BSc with electronics honors in 1991 from Bihar University. At that time, I lost my father. My father had desired to become an engineer, but anyhow, I could not become the engineer. And I was instructed by my family members to go to Delhi and start preparation for some competitive examination. I came here, I started my journey from a small place that's a Katwaria Sarai, which is situated in the South Delhi. I took a room on rent, a small room, and I was completely blank. I was not knowing what would be my next journey, which kind of the competition I'm going to write. And those days there was a national festival of the person who was coming from Eastern UP and Bihar. That's the Civil Services, Union Public Service Commission. So that was also one of the goal. But one of my friend and advised me, why don't you start the banking services? Because I was in need of job at that time. So I started the preparation for my banking examinations. Subsequently, one of my friend advised me, you join the law. You are already doing the preparation for the competitive exam, and the campus faculty of law has just introduced the entrance examination for admission. So I got motivated, and he advised me, you go and enjoy the campus environment and the library facility also. So these were all the things, because parallelly I was doing the competitive examination. I got admitted in the campus law center. I completed the law. Thereafter, I didn't have any clue about this profession. I was not knowing any lawyer in this city. I tried my best to join the chambers, but I was not getting through. Ultimately, I got disappointed and decided to go back to Bihar. I got my reservation done. But fortunately, one of my brother took me to Professor B.B. Pandey. And it is the B.B. Pandey's decision who convinced me I should stay in Delhi. And he promised that he will find out the senior to me. And then he wrote a letter to one of the lawyer who is now the sitting judge in Delhi High Court. I went to that lawyer's office, the Honorable Judge of Delhi High Court, but there was no placement, and then he sent me to Mr. Siddharth Luthra. So I was not knowing who is Siddharth Luthra and about his father. His father, late Mr. K.K. Luthra, was an eminent criminal lawyer, and Geeta Luthra. I was not knowing about the family. Ultimately, I got, and my journey started from there. Whatever I was getting, it was very tough time for me, because when I got the placement in the office of Mr. Luthra, I decided I will not take any kind of the help from my family, not a single penny. So whatever stipend I was getting, 2/3 of my stipend I was paying as a room rent. So it was very difficult for me to sustain in 1/3 amount whatever I was getting at that time. So it was very difficult time for me to survive in this unknown city, and I was not well acquainted. I was the first generation lawyer. But one thing I came to know, in this profession, the only thing is your goodwill, and you can develop the goodwill only if you have ethics, professional ethics. So you have to follow the ethics, and only your goodwill will help you. And goodwill, you can develop the goodwill. So many things are coming. The first generation lawyer, that's a nepotism. I don't believe in all these things. Yes, if you are the second generation, third generation lawyer, you have some age. You can get the clientele, you can get the offices, you can get the goodwill, but you have to retain your client yourself. Yeah. In criminal law, because I'm practicing in the criminal law, the arithmetic is altogether different. Sure. The simple arithmetic is 100 minus 1 is equal to 99, but in criminal law, the arithmetic is 100 minus 1 is equal to 0, meaning thereby you are as good as your last performance. So you have to perform yourself. Thank you so much. That's why my journey started, and wherever I am here due to my hard work or my professional ethics. I never compromise in my ethics. I always believe in the hard work because there is no substitute of the hard work.
Thank you so much, Pramod, for that. So listen, Saket, you heard Pramod. I think there is this new generation of lawyers, like all of you, who are not prepared to, accept what is being received wisdom, and they create their own pathways and journeys. Now, of course, you are an example of becoming a legal entrepreneur at a time when traditional law firms, which are to a large extent family run, have existed for decades together, dominate the legal world. You ended up creating a law firm on your own and have now made a mark. Tell us about your journey.
Thank you, Rajkumar. One, for including me in this, with such great friends and colleagues from the bar. But journey for me has been very exciting and very enriching. I mean, I never started off, like Mr. Dubey was saying, I never started out to be a lawyer, like, Vanita also mentioned. My story is slightly, different. I actually took law because I didn't want to go back home. I came from Patna, and I was studying in Delhi University in Hindu college. Statistics, mathematical statistics was my major. I finished it, and I wrote the management exams. Somehow didn't get through. I then tried the civils services. I didn't get through. And I thought that, hey, I mean, I'll have to go back. What will I do?
Thank God for that. You didn't get through all of them.
So it was a pretty low phase for me. I took the law entrance and I qualified. I joined, and actually, the moment I joined law, I started reading. I knew that this was where my career was going to be. Again, I think things turned for the better for me. Once I graduated, I managed to get a job in a law firm. Again, I think that had a modern outlook, quite a modern outlook, and I was extremely fortunate at that point to meet a trilegal co-founder called Akshay Jaitley on a deal. Akshay that time had not set up trilegal, and he and I were working on a deal. We hit off well, and I told him that, Akshay, are you planning to come back? He said, yes, I want to come back and I want to start something of my own. I said, if you do that, please give me a call. And that's what happened. In 2000, he came back, he called me, I joined trilegal. So I didn't face the conventional law firm mode really, because trilegal was very forward looking. It was a firm which was founded by five founders who did not want their name to be linked to the firm. So it became trilegal because it had 3 offices, and that started the journey. And then, again, I think it was very entrepreneurial in its approach. It encouraged that sort of behavior. And then that's when Phoenix happened into 2008. And if you look at it, 2008 was when there was an economic crisis. Things were at falling all over, and here there were 4 people who set out to start a firm. So that again, very fortunate there also, because my co-founders, had a very, very positive outlook. We knew that we would be able to sustain ourselves, and we knew that we would be able to break into decent work, and that clicked for us. There are bound to be hurdles, there are bound to be obstacles, and a large part of it is how you perceive these obstacles and hurdles. For me, the mantra was very simple. I just don't ever want to give up. You keep fighting, keep trying your luck, and things kind of worked out. And here we are after now on 12 years of Phoenix Legal, and before that 8 years of trilegal. It's been a very, very interesting and an enriching journey, Rajkumar.
Thank you so much, Saket. That is indeed truly inspiring. Sudhir, let me get to you. Of course, Sudhir, your life is, of course, truly inspiring, because I've been part of it for a very long time. But one of the things that is emerging clearly is that, people like you, including Saket, you didn't decide to become a lawyer as a matter of choice when you started. So many factors culminated in you choosing this profession, and then to make it as a calling in life is not an easy choice one has to make. So tell us about your story, and most importantly, tell us about the key aspects of your legal profession journey, which I believe is critical for those of you who are thinking about the future.
Professor Rajkumar, let me tell you that you know each and every part of my story, but still for the larger audience, I have to share this. I was a reluctant lawyer. I never wanted to be a lawyer. And I was more like that Hrithik Roshan in Lakshya movie, who was Lakshya Vihin. I had no target, I had no aim in my life for a pretty long time. But I can tell you one thing, that in 1999, when I was fresh from my rejection in IS interview, which happened in 1998, and you had witnessed that from very close, I realized that I was born to be a lawyer after 6 months in legal profession. I was going to Tisajari. I used to come back mostly 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock early morning. And I realized that this is something for which I was born. Now, the moment you realize, whether you are 28 or 29, that you were born to do something, it changes your life. And I think that happened in 99. I can tell you, I got the lowest marks in IS when I was writing the civil services. It was the lowest marks ever possible. I don't even want to mention it. I had great marks in history, great marks in essay, great marks in general study. And see the destiny that you take me to a, and again, Professor B.V. Pandey comes in picture, Pramod Dubeji. And Rajkumar takes me to Professor B. Pandey, that where Sudhi will go. He has just returned from IS interview. And they sent me to a lawyer who was my mentor. He had a small apartment, I don't want to mention that, 2-room apartment where in one room, the entire office was, one room they used to sleep. And from there, I learned what is the meaning of hard work, which Saket was talking about. We are first generation. Whether you get your calling at 16, whether you get your calling at 26, whether you get your calling at 29, the day you got your calling, you are the luckiest person on this universe. Today at 50, because I was a little older than Rajkumar, Saket, and everybody in my batch, because I wasted 1 or 2 years for UPSC, for engineering, for other default options which were there in my life. Today at 50, I come here every morning in Defense Colony, and I'm excited about it. The reason being that being a lawyer from 99 to 2020, in 2009, I realized that I have done close to 65 public interest litigations, 300 legal workshops in environment wildlife, and all kind of Fulbright scholarship from US government, all kind of work you had done. You are amicus in the forest bench of the Supreme Court. And suddenly I realized, why not to create a mainstream law practice? And then today, you see that you are the largest media broadcasting law firm with 700 matters in TDSAT. And even in the month of May and June, your numbers are sufficient to take care of your employees. So this is solely because the kind of determination is there that you don't need a work-life balance. You think that the work has to be harder, balance will find its own place.
Thank you so much, Sudhir. That was very compelling and very inspiring. Roshan, so Roshan, again, you are one of the, you are clearly the youngest in the group, and your story is fantastic because you, unlike so many of the people who are here, you actually chose to go abroad for your higher education, but many others ended up, they prefer to stay abroad, but you returned to India. So what motivated you to come back to India immediately after your higher education, and then how your journey has been here?
So just to answer that and give a kind of a background to that answer, I belong to this business family. My father was running an MSME enterprise out of this place called Narela in Delhi, and I am his son, and he always thought that I'll take up his business, and he always thought that I'll take up the reins and probably expand his business. But I obviously had other plans. So so basically, when I completed Nalsar, he said that now you've gone to a good law school, you should also probably back it up with a good LLM. He was kind enough to obviously, say that even if you don't secure a scholarship, I will be happy to fund the education. And to that extent, that was helpful. So I went to Oxford, studied, and came back because my father was very insistent right from the beginning that, listen, if you have to make a big mark, and if you have to, kind of establish yourself at a reputational level, at a more national level, then you have to be back to your country. You can't be abroad. I'm not sure whether he was right or wrong, but that was his ideology behind that. And after that, when I came back to India, my father was very clear right from day one that, listen, I understand mentorship is important. Godfather is important. Training at law is important. But coming from a Marwadi family again, and coming from that entire entrepreneur kind of a, upbringing, he was very clear that, listen, you set up your own shop. You set up your own chambers. I have full confidence that you'll be able to, argue well in a court of law, and you'll be able to do well for your clients, irrespective of the fact that you've not got training. Again, I don't know how far that is empirically true for all the budding, but this is definitely one of the models which can be taken up. So post that, I worked for 6 months with Mr. J.K. Bhula, who's, a civil lawyer at 30 Hazari courts. And I went to 30 Hazari courts every single day for, let's say, at least a good first 6 months. And then I started, soliciting my own clients, representing them. Manu Patra was of great help. So, some of the senior lawyers who I met, they told me that as to how the profession has changed in the last 25 years. You see, now if you have a good and a new dispute on a particular domain of law on which you've not practiced before, you can always go to Manu Patra, read 50 judgments, leverage your reading speed, and be at the top of the case next day in the court. You probably couldn't do that 25 years back. So that is where, the model also made sense as to from what I am doing. And just to, to sum up my answer, just to, give a brief background as to why I took up law in the first place. So my elder brother, who's around 18 months elder to me, he's a mathematical genius, and he's very good with his numbers. He's been a topper at IIM Bangalore, and he's worked with a hedge fund. And you ought to have that healthy competition, when your brother is only 18 months, elder to you. So I clearly understood that while my maths was good, but it was definitely not my forte. And if I have to give a run for my money to my brother in terms of healthy competition, it has to be, in something which is probably different. So my love for language came in, and then that is when I took up law.
Great, Roshan. Thank you so much for that fantastic, experience sharing. We are live on Facebook and YouTube for all the viewers here. Send in your questions. After this segment, I will take up the questions from all of you. Vinita, let me move to you. Vinita, law firms in particular need lawyers not only to resolve legal issues, but also to support their business development efforts. Positions of senior leadership demand effective relationship management. Now you are, of course, a partner. Therefore, over and above the legal acumen, analytical skills, and logical reasoning capability, what are the qualities that you think it takes to have a successful legal career? And of course, given the shift in the way we operate due to COVID-19, what will be the significance of technology-driven skills and aptitude as we go forward?
Like you said, apart from a certain amount of aptitude, what one looks for in a fresher is one ability to work hard. I think that we are all unanimous with that. Without the ability to work hard, it's very difficult to move forward. Two, alertness to surroundings, observation skills, eagerness to always learn, and an inherent desire to help. I mean, we are in a service profession. We basically try to solve, people come to us with problems, whether it's corporates or individuals. So there has to be an inherent desire to help, to really keep your spark alive in this profession. Having the right attitude is very important. In fact, for first generation lawyers, having the right attitude, it endears you to your senior or your clients who would then want to mentor you. Now, that is very important for a first generation lawyer who, so to say, has no godfather to just put in a word to a client or give work or just involve in various matters. So if you show that you're eager to learn, you'll always find someone to mentor you. And going forward, it will be an age of partnering, collaboration, consultation, and mediation. So therefore, negotiation and mediation skills ought to be honed by the young students of law. And due to this accelerated pace of technological advancements, there was already a discussion on disruptions that may be faced in the legal sector, even pre-COVID. So COVID-19 has accelerated the change at a much faster pace. Major disruption is the changeover from physical hearings to virtual hearings and how stakeholders had to adapt almost overnight. So one has to have the skill to adapt to the changes, and lawyers have to keep themselves updated with technological advancements, both in software and hardware, and use technology for achieving efficiency. what Roshan was saying about Manupatra, technology has really changed lawyering in the last so many years. So, and lawyers need to, with increased use of technology, they should think of spending and investing more in technology, which can be offset by the cost of investing in physical infrastructure and saving cost in traveling.
Thank
So,
you. Yeah,
virtual
please go
yeah.
ahead. Sorry.
So virtual hearings are here to stay because we don't know what is a safe after date. So I would say that in virtual hearings you need a precision and brevity both in advocacy and drafting skills. So I think the younger lot should focus on that as well.
Thank you very much, Vinita, for actually bringing that into the discussion. Pramod, so I want to build on what you said about ethics. Between client representation and compliance before the judiciary, a lawyer's journey is filled with ethical dilemmas, not just a criminal lawyer, but generally as well. What has been your approach to handling such situations? What should the young budding lawyers keep in mind when exposed to ethical dilemmas? How should they ensure that their relationship both with the clients and also the larger, let's say, criminal and civil justice system should be based upon principles of ethics and also to be based upon utmost good faith?
Mr. Rajkumar, so far as the ethical dilemma is concerned, it varies from the field of the practice, whether you are practicing in civil or corporate side or the criminal side. So every practice has its own ethics and the dilemma in the practice. In criminal side, which is as on date, it's a very lucrative. I'm not advocating the criminal practice, but it's a quite lucrative. So you will get so many opportunity to involve in the corrupt practice. I would say you will get everywhere the opportunity to enter into the corrupt practice. Number one. Number two, the trial by media. So the media also give the results before knowing the facts of the case. While sitting in the media channel, the anchor gives the result on the case, what is the real story. So they are not getting, so the young lawyers, they get influence with the media and the social media, all the things. So my advice would be, if you are a lawyer and practicing in the criminal side, of course you are not the eyewitness to the incident. So you should confine your brief to the matter which has been assigned to you. You have to see only the interest of the client. If you are not satisfied yourself, don't take the brief. Because suppose in Nirbhaya case, let us take the example of the Nirbhaya case. So there were a lot of things in the media and the candle march, and so many people has given their opinions. If you are affected with the opinion and then you have the ethical dilemma, I would advise don't go ahead and defend your client. Number two, so far as the corrupt practice is concerned, I'm giving one example. I was in need of money at a particular point of time for my personal use. I was doing a matter and I was the lawyer for Gram Sabha. One of the person called me and he fixed a conference with me. I called him and he started talking to me about the matter. I asked him which matter you have approached me. He said the matter is already pending with you. I asked the name of the case, then he said, yes, this is the case. Yes. Who are you appearing for? I am for the government. Who are you? He said, I am for the private person. What? Why you have approached me? So, sir, I want your assistance just to delay the matter. So how it get delayed? I say you have engaged all the eminent lawyer who are practicing in the civil side. That was a civil matter. So why you are seeking my assistance? He says, no, sir, I just want your opinion how we'll get the matter adjourned. And this amount is the short token amount of 10 lakh rupees I'm carrying with me. I threw him out from my office. They attempted me and they approached to my family. They went to my residence with some grooms. They tried to threaten me. I immediately called the opposite counsel. The opposite counsel contacted the clients and then they left the place. So you will face this kind of the problem everywhere, because in the criminal side, what is the practice these days? The client's first question, do you know the judge? Do you have any acquaintance with the public prosecutor? Do you have any acquaintance with the police officer? The fourth criteria, whether you have merit or not.
Oh gosh.
So now the client's requirement is altogether different. So you have to maintain your professional ethics there won't be any dilemma in your mind, and ethics is the only thing which can navigate you in this profession.
Thank you very much, Pramod, for that, and I appreciate your leadership and your commitment to ethics in a difficult environment. Saket, let me, obviously your life is a bit different from Pramod's life, clearly, but at the same time, the world of law is complex, compelling, and challenging, from long hours to the pressures of demanding clients and high-stake decisions. Now, as somebody who has both founded a firm but also has worked in leading law firms before, how do you measure satisfaction of your impact as a legal professional when it comes to, let's say, closing deals or contributing to commercial dispute resolution? I mean, how different is the reality of a career in law from distance and actually experiencing it as you have experienced in your own life?
So, Rajkumar, yes, absolutely. I mean, it's a very complex as well world out there. Legal profession, it takes its own time. Resolution isn't easy. There are competing interests. There are conflicting aspects that come into any sort of matters. If it's transactional or non-transactional. But at the end of it, yes, with the effort it also offers immense satisfaction if you do the right things, if you're able to get the result, and irrespective of the stakes involved, law always has something to offer to us. You may be, and I've found it that at times you're helping a smaller organization on a matter which is very critical to them, as against helping someone who's for whom it's a routine thing to do transactions, to do deals. The satisfaction can vary, but you're absolutely right. There is a lot of effort involved. You need to be thinking on your feet. You have to balance interests, and there's a great deal of uncertainty. There are times that you work very hard, you stitch a deal, you've done everything right, and at the last minute, parties back out because of it's gone from one financial year to the other, and the numbers look different, or people don't get along. So there is satisfaction, but there can also be very, very strong and quick disappointments as well. And therefore, I think just taking on what Vanita had said, attitude becomes critical. So if you have a positive attitude, a never say die attitude, that helps. And to that extent, the career of in law is very, very different from what we see otherwise, in movies or in some of these serials. I've heard younger kids getting influenced by Harvey Specter and Mike Ross, and that glamour is good. I mean, I think Sudhir, Mr. Dubey, Vanita, and Roshan are more likely to see glamour than us. It's churning a lot of document, negotiating hard, keep negotiating, and then finally try and reach.
Thank you so much, Saket. And I think that's a very important point which you made, because of the fact that at the end of the day, some of these things don't get taught or trained in law school. A lot of it you mentioned about attitude, and which becomes so central to advancing your standing within the legal profession. Sudhir, let me go to a very tough question. Since you're a friend, I'm going to ask a very difficult question. Nepotism has been greatly discussed across different professions. How plagued is the Indian legal fraternity by nepotism? Is the process of even selection of judges in particular more vulnerable to promoting at times a pliant judiciary? How do we ensure a level playing field for first generation lawyers and those who come in comparison to those who come from a family of legal profession, with a larger objective of ensuring transparency and intellectual enrichment of all aspects of legal profession, be it the courtrooms or, for that matter, the law firms?
So it's a very tough question, and I know it won't be easy for me to answer, running a law firm which migrated itself from environment and healthcare to mainstream, it's like going to the Atlantic Ocean. In 2015 onwards, we had series of high-stake matters being transferred to us from other firms, and I could see it from very close what you were mentioning, Rajkumar. And then I realized that the biggest problem, this uncle culture which we have in the legal profession, and it's not limited to the judiciary, let me tell you, is also prevalent in the other family-run businesses, the way legal profession is treated. And there's a complete apathy on every line you can think of, whether it's caste line, regional lines, language lines. And there is a complete denial, like Delhi is the legal capital of the country, the entire, all these states, if you are a great enough lawyer in Chennai or Hyderabad or Mumbai, you want to come to Delhi and practice in Supreme Court of India. You have to struggle there. But if you think that you will establish a law firm which will compete with a particular aspect, despite whatever you say that Delhi corners almost 60 to 65% of the litigation work of the entire country because of the kind of forums you have. And if you're talking about cornering somebody else's work, you are supposed to really perform. That's the only way to answer to nepotism. And you need to perform so well. You need to announce it so well. And the series of litigations we did, we had roughly 360 matters transferred from 4 law firms. And I can tell you that happened from 2015 to 17. And I was one of the first person who actually wrote an article saying that when you do the filing in Delhi High Court filing is as difficult as clearing UPSC. You want to get a matter listed, just go and find out how difficult it is. So when online filing was prevalent, now for last 1 week, it has been changed a little bit. We are having great difficulty again, but we had a great time when online filing was happening during the lockdown. So you have a real challenge. If you want to become a judge, no problem. If you are deserving, you can still become a judge. You want to become a senior, you can still become a judge. But if you want to really think that you will become a first generation huge law firm which will be recognized by RSG to legal 500 chambers and partners, the moment you compete with the best, you have to survive with your competence and your qualification and your integrity. That's the only way you can challenge and make a phoenix and make a tri-legal kind of impact.
Thank
and
you so
that
much.
will make a huge noise after that.
Thank you very much, Sudhir, for that. And I think it was very necessary for us to say that. And I think one of the points that Sudhir and others are also making, and Pramod has said that as well, is that while there are all these challenges and there is this, nepotism of different kinds prevailing in the legal profession, like every other profession, but for those who are prepared to make that personal commitment and to work hard and to have a single-minded focus, success is not going to be away. And that is an example of the panel we have today. Roshan, I want to build on what others have said. Now, you are, of course, a bit of a new kid in the block. You have chosen to be in the profession despite the fact that you had many other options. And in some ways, options were not only limited to, entering into the corporate legal firm world, but also to enter into business. Now, you seem to be liking what you're doing. So tell us a bit about what takes you to do what you're doing, but more importantly, how have you reimagined your role in the legal profession? In particular, I'm keen to know that, do you do some pro bono work, for example? Do you believe in the notion that lawyers have a larger social responsibility and a bit of your time and work needs to impact society beyond your clients?
So yeah, that's a very interesting question, Professor. And to be able to take it straight on, I think it's very important for me to flag at the beginning itself that anyone who has a lot of monetary aspirations in life, litigation is not the place to be. Because I genuinely feel that the people who have excelled in litigation, a majority of them have taken up litigation in a way in which they can actually make a social impact. Money at best can be a very good residue out of the entire process, and a residue well deserved, no doubt about it. But if you talk about the best of the constitutional lawyers at the Supreme Court, or let's say the best of the criminal lawyers, the civil lawyers at the high courts of various countries, or for that matter, the trial courts, you will see one thing fairly common. And by common, I don't mean it will be across the board, but it will be predominantly true that those people are driven by the social needs. They are driven by the social causes, or they are driven by the high of getting an accused acquitted who was wrongly framed, or they are probably getting a high by getting a good successful PIL resulted in their own favor. So as far as pro bono work is concerned, I think pro bono work in India is obviously not institutionalized as opposed to the West, and we have our own reasons for that, because our entire justice system in a broader way is also not very well institutionalized. So what to say about pro bono work? My chambers does a lot of pro bono work. Initially, we used to do a lot of pro bono work at the trial courts also, but Delhi has some 6 trial courts, and going from one, and Mr. Dubey on the panel would probably empathize with me on this. Going from one trial court to the other takes a lot of time. So now we have restricted our pro bono work to the High Court, and we definitely take a pro bono. And sometimes when we feel the cause is good, then irrespective of the money that we make. But yes, if we feel that the cause is bad and it's a fight which is not worth it, then we decline the briefs.
Thank you very much, Roshan, for that. Well, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. For those of you watching this program, I invite you to send in your questions. Very shortly, I'm going to take those questions with our panelists. Vinita, let me ask you another difficult question. Now, of course, India has seen a surge in women leading law firms. What type of diversity initiatives have law firms taken to motivate this success in growth of the legal careers of women? The reality is we still have less than 10% of female judges in the Supreme Court of India and high courts. The fact is, even look at this panel. I mean, I'm guilty as charged as well as I am raising. We have 5 men and 1 woman speaking in this panel. Is the legal fraternity in India still an old boys club? How do we overcome this and promote other forms of diversity to strengthen the legal profession, including in senior leadership positions in law firms, corporate in-house counsel positions, senior advocates, as well as judges? How do we do to change and clearly focus on promoting gender diversity in the legal profession?
From the time that I started in my career, I would say, in the past so many years, we have seen a remarkable increase in women in law, and especially in law firms. In the last few years, 50% of graduates from various law schools who have joined Khaitan and Company are women. And new women partners constituted over 50% in the latest round of partner promotions. We have 35% women in fee earner and shared services categories. And personally, I've seen that since 2004, when I was the second woman partner in Delhi, we now have 20 women partners. The last decade especially has seen a remarkable change in the demographic structure of our firm. But the question is, was this a conscious decision or it happened per chance? Because that is where, we'll have to, if we have to do it consciously in order to really break into what you say, the old boys club. So to take for my example, I was contemplating taking a break from work when I was expecting my first child. And even though this may be apt for a diversity and inclusion colloquium, but when I cleared the AOR exam in Supreme Court, the then managing partner of my firm not only offered me a partnership, but gave me ample maternity leave, which was pioneering and unheard of back then. I mean, now
kudos to High Grade Khaitan, and Khaitan, of course, I am very familiar with that work. Yeah.
And his father, Mr. Pinto Khaitan, yes.
Yes.
So having said so, you're right. I mean, out of 31 judges in the Supreme Court, only 3 are women, and only 11% of all High Court judges are women. So to overcome this, like I said, conscious efforts in breaking down mindsets and unconscious biases have to be taken. So we now have a dedicated diversity and inclusion team in our firm to take steps to eradicate unconscious biases. We all can see conscious biases and tackle them, but how do you tackle unconscious biases? And to So we are making conscious efforts to be inclusive to not only women, but LGBT community and differently abled persons as well. So we have to take efforts to make people unlearn some deep-rooted prejudices. So we organize events to sensitize the members to divergent groups. And the best way to to emphasize that diversity and inclusion is to sell this diversity and inclusion is that they have a tangible and direct benefit and have a bearing on the success of the organization itself.
Thank you very much, Vinita, for that very useful and very impactful set of observations. Let me move to Pramod. Pramod, I know that as a criminal lawyer, you are deeply committed to the cause of justice. And one of the things that the Justice Project is constantly looking at is how do we provide access to justice for a lot of people who simply can't afford? The reality is justice in our country is also a very expensive affair. Day in and day out, we see that those who are privileged are able to afford better lawyers and in that process are able to have greater access to justice. So tell us about how lawyers like you can contribute to the mission of promoting access to justice with regard to significantly reimagining the pro bono culture. The fact remains that pro bono becomes a matter of voluntary and choice with regard to lawyers, and we have very little institutional mechanism to promote a pro bono culture. Pramod.
Thank you so much. It's a very important question you have asked me. But your question is confined only to the lawyers. I would go further.
Sure.
In Delhi, first let me complete that aspect. In Delhi, there is a National Law University, NLU Delhi. They have started Project 39A. That's as in terms of Article 39 of the Constitution of India. And there is an innocent project in US. So what they are doing, they are going to the people at the large. They are finding the cases related to the death penalty, and they are providing the access to the justice to the person in need. I hope your institution might also have started such kind of projects. I would advise the institution should also come forward for this purpose. Second thing, so far as the pro bono and the providing the protection, because the role of the lawyer is the protection of the democratic value and the constitution of the India. I am the member of the Delhi High Court Legal Services Authority since 2013, and I'm doing the matter pro bono. Even I'm the member of the independent committee of the pro bono committee. The pro bono, there is so many problems coming forward. Suppose if the lawyer are desired, they can go to the people only through the NGO or constituting a project. They are not getting the access through the Delhi High Court Legal Services Authority, because the Delhi High Court Legal Services Authority or District Legal Services Authority has the direct access to the jail inmates. First thing. Second thing, the lawyer who are working as a pro bono lawyer, they are lacking in the research. So there will also be a wing who can provide the research thing. Fortunately, we had two panelists in this conversation of today, one from the Ketan and one from the Trust Legal. I would request the law firms should also come forward to give the services as a pro bono matters, because this is very important and they should encourage this pro bono culture in the law firm also. And if you see the global aspect and the global scenario, there is a provision in Indonesia, Vietnam, South Korea, Singapore. They have to meet, and USA, you have to meet the certain requirement, certain target of the pro bono matter annually or the monthly. So we should come forward and we should provide the services to the weaker section, and weaker section should not be deprived from their right to justice due to the financial background, their illiteracy, all the things. So we should go forward collectively, and I myself always satisfied in discharging my services as a pro bono counsel.
Thank you so much, Pramod, for that. Saket, You know, one of the big challenge that any law firms, organizations face is regard to retention of talent. Retention of talent is important to be able to institutionalize the client experience. Apart from monetary benefits and promotions, what other forms of employee recognition are used to motivate legal professionals? Now, while law firms have a more corporate human resource structure, what can be done differently to have improved, let's say, professional recognition for people who are working in the firms? And one of the things that you have done quite well is that to give them a new imagination for a more democratic, inclusive, and a recognition for first generation lawyers, both in terms of recruiting first generation lawyers and junior lawyers, so that they are more sensitive and appreciative of this issue.
Yes, Rajkumar. I mean, talent retention is always an issue for law firms, and different law firms have different approaches, different ways to handle it. But I mean, there are a couple of issues around talent retention. See, lawyers are very individualistic because of the training. They're meant to think independently, not rely on whatever is coming their way. Also, can get entrepreneurial as things have evolved. Lawyers think differently. So it's the direction that a firm takes, whether it just wants to inculcate a culture where it retains talent for the sake, and not to that extent puts some fetter to their development, because your approach is to not allow a very individualistic and an independent thinking professional. And therefore there's always some sort of a risk. For me personally, I came from an environment which was very entrepreneurial, right? And that helped me take that decision, took a leap. So I honestly, I mean, when I look at it, I don't like focusing excessive, too much on retention. Yes, a very critical aspect. Love to work with people you work with, and it helps, as you said, institutionalize this clientele. As far as motivation goes, I think one of the biggest factors which motivates is challenging work. What type of work are you doing? Is it interesting? Is it or is it become run of the mill, which you're not really able to apply your mind intellectually? Are you satisfied? That is a big factor. Conventional HR, aspects which work in an employer-employee sort of a relationship don't really work for lawyers. I mean, at least that's been my thinking on it. I mean, we don't do a job. We are professionals, as Sudhir was saying, that he's there in his defense colony office, come what may, with full excitement every day in the morning. All of us keep working. We keep we have 24/7. Even if you're doing something, advising a client, there is a structure that you are evolving. There's a regulatory issue you are checking. It doesn't end even after you send the advice, because you're thinking about it. So I think the conventional ways don't work, to my mind, in law firms, especially Indian firms, where super specialization hasn't really happened, and therefore we are not very siloed in our approach. You do different types of things. You even over a period of time, you realize that you may be doing a financing transaction, then go do and may end up after a few years doing M&A, or even get into litigation. So it's a very different world for lawyers. For first-time lawyers, I think yes. I mean, I always would say that don't confine yourself, your field. Just keep be open to ideas, try your best, and if you make relationships, you invest in relationships, but that doesn't necessarily have to be confined to a professional relationship all the time. You can start something, you can go on your own, but that doesn't mean your relationship with the person or with people you work with has to end.
Thank you very much, Saket, for saying what you said, because I think a lot of young people need to understand that if their law is not a business, and it is actually a profession, but most importantly, a part of it is also about speaking truth to power, but also to be able to contribute towards justice and solving disputes. Sudhir, you are, of course, what I've called elsewhere a legal entrepreneur, with a series of startups entering the legal space, especially legal tech startups. We have also entered into this whole, set of possibilities which legal entrepreneurship can promote. In your views, what has resulted in this disruption, and what is going to be the future of the legal profession, where more young people can reimagine their own identity in the legal profession, transcending existing models of law firm structures, law offices structures, and create something which is interdisciplinary, which transcends the disciplinary boundaries, and actually create new opportunities for other young lawyers?
Professor Rajkumar, I'd like to go a little bit in detail because I think a lot of youngsters are listening to us. My firm is a firm which is started with a belief that you don't have to be expert of anything. And that is started in 99 when I became a lawyer, and my senior sent me for a matter in Patiala House. And I still remember I went in my repaired Priya scooter. I came out of the scooter and the client was standing there. He had to pay me 700 rupees. And I told him कि मेरे से बहुत अच्छा तैयार नहीं हुए. I'm not that prepared. He said, please don't do a mistake of this kind. He said, you should be totally prepared if you're coming to attend to my matter. Please don't learn on my matter. That was a lesson for me. My firm in last 10 years, and I can only talk about my firm with an example because I'll address two more issues, the women issue as well. We were told by the client that you are very good on environmental law. Can you do music for us? Can you do media for us? Can you do broadcasting for us? We said, we don't know anything about it. This is just 4 years back I'm talking about. But the kind of partners I had, my partner who was not knowing the meaning of telecom disputes, who was not even knowing the meaning of TDSAT, we are a monopoly firm there. We have 630 matters out of maybe 1100 matters there. And we are asked to appear in tricky matters for virtually every broadcaster. This happened in 4 years. So there's nothing called domain expertise when you are in today's time. You have to be as good as a 2020, like a cricket bat. That you have to be a Suresh Raina kind of expertise. You have to be expert. So people come to me, even law firms come to me for environmental advice. Even the large law firms come to me for a tricky environmental advice. But my two partners and two women partners, and let me tell you what happens with the women. They don't think about the entrepreneurship from day one. They think about commitment and integrity. And that's a huge plus. They don't think about changing to a large law firm overnight. So I have my one partner who is left Ketan in 2010 and she's working for 9 years with me. She was in Ketan, Calcutta. But she's happy. She's contented. My only problem with her is that I have to call her at 3 o'clock in the morning. When will you go home? Because she hardly goes on time. Even in lockdown, she will go very late. So what I have realized, Rajkumar, that this profession has no competition. But at the same time, the biggest contradiction is that out of 10,000 people, only one will succeed. The reason is nobody is willing to go beyond the pizza or the evening night out or the evening movie. The moment you think about that I have to have excellence, whatever practice you are doing it. Today we are working on cryptocurrency. We have got 2 or 3 major companies registered in cryptocurrency exchange in lockdown period, I'm telling you. Now that was something which we had never done earlier. So the idea in India, the beauty of India is that we have so few law firms even now. We have largest law firm with 700 lawyers. Is it a large law firm? You go to any country in US or you go to UK or any other country, a large law firm is 5,000 lawyers. So you have ample space for growth. Youngsters can think about being an entrepreneur, work under a setup, be on their own. But the fundamental thing, we are not doctors, we are not engineers, we are not MBAs. We are lawyers. We have to be like painter. We have to be like a cricketer. We have to be like somebody who has to innovate his own way to excel in life.
Thank you very much, Sudhir, for that very comprehensive tour de force on the future of legal entrepreneurship. Roshan, let me ask you a question about the current disruptions. Now, clearly, the legal community is likely to be disrupted, plagued, born out of COVID, and even beyond. There are issues relating to unemployment, different types of commercial disputes are coming up. cyber frauds, domestic violence, including. How do you imagine the landscape of litigation, evolve in a post-corona world, if we can even talk about a post-corona world as we speak?
Yeah, so that's a very topical question. It's something which is, on the plate of all the lawyers today as to the entire disruption which has been caused due to the pandemic. Now, one thing which is very which has happened is that because of whatever situation that has arisen due to COVID, there are a lot of amendments which have taken place. And it's common knowledge then when amendments start taking place, interpretations also start happening. So one of the common amendments which have come into place with regard to IBC, and as to how, now the threshold is of 1 crore if you want to, take a company to an proceeding. Now, again, I was recently doing an assignment for a client where, one of my associates from my chambers did kind of get confused as to, what exactly would be the right interpretation. And to the benefit to him, he was not really wrong, because one of the High Court judges had in fact also, given similar kind of an opinion, which is prima facie not tenable. And it is also opposed to some of the recent NCLT decisions which have come in the month of June. The larger point that I'm trying to make is that lawyers have to be very, very agile before sending an opinion to the client, or before acting on a particular issue of law. They have to see what the latest, probably May, June judgments say about those particular amendments. There will be a rise in litigations. There is no doubt about that. There will be a rise in litigations thanks to COVID. Probably the fee paying capacity of clients reduce. So, that is something which probably, we as lawyers, we need to accept, especially in the next 1 to 2 years, that the client will not be able to afford, the kind of money that they paid. So just again, as an example, I have a retainer client for the last about 6 years now, and around 10% of the revenue of my chambers is given by that retainer client. And he requested me, that client, the promoter of that client requested me that, listen, Roshan, I will have to take an exemption from you for the next 6 months. And as someone who has had a relationship with me for the last 6 years, I didn't even think about it, because that client has been one of the reasons why I've sustained in the first few years of my practice. So the point that I'm again trying to make is that lawyers will have to make adjustment. They'll have to agree for a lesser bargain, and they'll have to be very agile, because thanks to COVID, some of the issues, not all, some of the issues of law, and especially one in which amendments have come, have become very dynamic, and therefore the latest position of law needs to be appreciated before sending out the opinion to the client. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Roshan. By the way, we have 55 questions waiting for us, and I need to quickly get to the audience who are very, very excited to ask these questions to you. But I want to have a quick question to all of you. It's the same question, and I'll start with Vinita. Vinita, what constitutes recognition of your work? I mean, how do you feel that all the hard work, be it in the courtroom, in deals, working on whatever you're working, what constitutes recognition? Because one of the things that I believe is that, which I suppose all of you might share, is that money does constitutes an important part of our motivation, but a lot of what we do transcends money. A famous Harvard political and moral philosopher Michael Sandel wrote a book called What Money Can't Buy, The Moral Limits of Markets. And Michael argues in the book very compellingly that we are increasingly moved into a world where everything that we believe and we do ends up measured in monetary terms. And he concludes by saying that there ought to be some things that money can't buy, and there has to be moral limits imposed on markets. Speaking about the legal profession, I strongly believe that for a lot of you, there are other motivations. What motivates you, and what would you consider as recognition?
So for me, recognition is when after I have worked hard on a matter, and the client invokes such trust that they come back to you. I mean that when the first time that even when we start working with a senior, the fact that you have done such a good job that the senior endorses it and gives you some more and thinks it fit that you can handle certain matters independently. So that for me, to establish a trust with your seniors, with your peers, with your clients, that is recognition, according to me.
Thank you very much. Pramod, same
See,
question.
Professor Rajkumar, this is a very tricky question because these days we are coming across social media and some advertisement. The people are advertising themselves. We are at number 5, number 10, number 11, out of 500, 200. I don't believe in this kind of advertisement. Why? Because the reason is that first test for the recognition is that coming in the advertisement, I am in the list number such and such, that is for your self-satisfaction. Actual recognition is whether you have been recognized in your own community or not. What is the comment of the member of the bar? How the judges are taking you? Number one. Number two, you first, and the other recognition is you get yourself satisfied because you don't have any competitor in your profession. You are yourself your competitor. You compete yourself, do the introspection at your bedtime, find out whether you have discharged your duty honestly or not. So this is the, I don't believe in the monetary recognition. I don't believe in the advertisement by the person who advertising I have achieved this and this. This is not recognition at all. The actual recognition is in your society, your own community, and in your own profession in the courtroom. That's the best recognition as per my experience.
Thank you so much, Pramod. Saket.
Yeah, Rajkumar, for me, I think somewhat on the lines of what Mr. Dubey and Vanita said, recognition comes from how your clients react to you, and the greatest form of recognition is if a client who's in trouble, and even though you do advisory work for the client, but if there's a trouble, there's a major investigation, a criminal investigation going on, the first port of call for that client is you. That is immensely satisfying because you've established that relationship of trust where the person reaches out. That's one. Two, it's your colleagues and peers, right? And it's your team, people who work with you, how they treat you, not when they're working with you, but how they treat and deal with you when they're not working with you. Whether they have fond memories, irrespective of the fact that they no longer work with you, but whether they actually enjoyed working with you and learned something by the way. That's the sort of true recognition.
Fascinating. Thank you very much, Saket. Sudhir.
For me, recognition is like Saket said, almost same. Basically, when a client thinks that even if he knows that you are a normal litigation lawyer, even for a tax issue, or for example, if it comes for a huge criminal issue, just he thinks that you are the sounding board for him. If you become the sounding board for his personal matter, his will, his property issues, or his matrimonial issues, it really touches you. You just start thinking that what has happened. This person is asking, in fact, he's asking to you whether this public relation or a media campaign is good for him or not. Now you are even going beyond legal profession. I think that is recognition. I'll just also share one more thing. In a personal matter, especially in a matrimonial matter, something which I still do because I was trained by a few matrimonial lawyers. If I see that a justice has been done to, especially to a woman, like I just got a child of 3 months and a mother from Sweden to India, Vanita, during lockdown, under this program of which the government has that they can get you an emergency flight, where the husband was tormenting her in Sweden. So I think that was recognition for me. I was very happy, very touched by that.
Thank you very much, Sudhir. And Roshan?
Yeah, so I'll again, quickly, I'll be brutally honest about this answer that I'm going to give. And
I expect nothing less from you, Roshan. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, at the cost of sounding a little immature, given my age, for me, I would like to, bifurcate this into two: objective satisfaction and recognition, and subjective satisfaction and recognition. Well, subjective satisfaction and recognition is satisfaction, especially is when I read different domains of law, and I sit and enjoy that. that gives me a lot of satisfaction. That gives me a lot of internal recognition that, listen, this is a tough domain of law and I'm able to read it and make sense of it and, be able to come on top of it. I mean, competition law was something which I've never done, like about 6 months back. I've got a couple of clients in that domain now, and I've been reading competition law for the last week. And the kind of, the kind of joy it gives me that I'm able to read it and, make sense out of it and able to, crack it is definitely a lot. It's very satisfying. Objectively speaking, I think that, if I have a lot of reported judgments wherein I've argued, when I go on Manupatra and see that, these are the judgments that I've argued, whatever they may be in the number, that gives me a lot of recognition. In addition to that, obviously money helps. So, a heavy ITR at the end of the year doesn't harm me a lot. And just to sum it up all, if you can be amongst the smartest in the room, or if you can be amongst one of the smartest in the room and, that, if you've done well, that obviously gives a lot of satisfaction.
Thank you very much, Roshan, for your very candid and very incisive remarks. We have had a fascinating conversation with some of the most outstanding lawyers who are shaping the future of the legal profession, self-made individuals. Let me quickly move to the Q&A session. As I said, I have now 75 plus questions, and I'm going to take a few. Vinita, this is for you. Raghav Sengupta is asking, my question pertains to networking and developing contacts as a first-generation lawyer. How does one develop a sound network and continue to build it gradually in the early years of one's practice?
Like I said, the work speaks for itself. You perform well on a case, and I think that one should not differentiate between a big matter or a small matter. Whatever comes your way, you do your best. The seniors will be your network king. They will refer matters to you. They will speak, and it never goes unnoticed. So as you go along, you build your trust with clients. That is your network. You start with that. And maybe initially it starts with, word of mouth. So even one good client, one good delivery of a case, that is how your network will start.
Thank you very much, Vinita. Pramod, there are a number of questions from Shrishti, Lavanya, Aryan, Sudarshan. All of them are talking about how did you face uncertainty in your life? I mean, you mentioned about the story of your own life when you made those choices. When you were facing that uncertainty, how did you create your own pathway and, of course, achieved so much of success in criminal litigation?
See, Professor Rajkumar, I was very confident from the very first day of my practice, and I really enjoying my practice. So once you have started enjoying your job, you have the confidence. I don't think you face uncertainty in your life at any point of time. You must be honest with your profession. You maintain your integrity, be humble with your colleague. You never find any kind of uncertainty in your career. Go ahead. God is great. God is there to justify. God is there to see all the things, your efforts. You do your karma. Don't think of uncertainty in your career.
Thank you very much, Pramod. Saket, there are questions which are focusing on what should law students do while at law school to achieve the kind of success in the corporate law firm world, both in terms of entering into a firm and then later. Is there anything specific that law students need to keep in mind when they are at law school?
See, I think we discussed some of these attributes earlier also. I mean, always be positive, have a good attitude towards work. Don't take shortcuts. Be open. I mean, I would say you should be open to reason. You should be open to accepting thoughts. Don't, try and expand your horizons. Try and, understand things more. And one of the other things that I feel is that at times, unlike maybe some of us who did a 3-year graduation, struggled it in a different course and then did another 3 years of law. you get certain type of exposure in different fields. And therefore, I think for the present law, it's very important also to try and get exposure in other areas, and generally be more aware about the world. And lastly,
Yeah.
what help is, and I think my colleagues here will probably accept it, that it's very important to have clear and communication skills, written, verbal, very important, because everything that you do as a lawyer relates to interacting. You may understand the law well, but if you're not able to articulate it to your client, or if you're not able to explain it, simplify it for your client to understand, then it's not knowledge that is of use. So that's the other thing that you should focus on.
Thank you very much, Saket, for that. Sudhir, there's a very interesting question from a colleague of mine, Professor Kagesh Gautam. He's asking, should law professors be stopped from appearing on a wakalatnama in a local trial or appellate court, so long as the matter is a pro bono one? And why should we not consider appointing distinguished law professors as judges?
Yeah, it should be like, I think anybody should be practicing, because this is a wild west for you. Anybody can come and practice. I think we were very fortunate in Campus Law Center that some of the teachers who were teaching us, they are eminent judges now, and they were very good because they had a practical insight. I think law professors going to courts will have a huge impact because they will get a practical insight, because I think all said and done, the client is the biggest teacher. He has the best brief. He has the best knowledge. He knows the case, his case like nobody else. And whether he comes from a rural background or he comes from an urban background, he's a authorized signatory. But if you talk to him, if he's interested, he will be your best teacher. The second part, judges, I do believe, and I still believe, maybe a lot of people will not like it, save and except Delhi and Mumbai, most of the other places, the quality of judges who are appointed in most of the high courts are not as great as the bigger metropolitan cities. And if a professor of law who is dedicating himself, and he has his knowledge and he has a passion for interpreting the judgments and interacting with people, I think he will be at par with the principles of justice to be appointed a judge. There's nothing wrong with it. It hasn't happened that much in our country. I think it hasn't happened at all. And the who were offered, they didn't take it up.
Thank you very much, Sudhir. Roshan, one of the questions, in fact, there are 3-4 questions like that. Young people are asking about the fact that as a first generation lawyer, how do you overcome the handicap of knowing lawyers, other lawyers, to even get internships? The kind of problem which Vinita started off with. Now, how do you get that first barrier overcome? And equally important question, which several of them are asking, is that compensation issues. I mean, at the end of the day, many lawyers are, with all due respect, notorious that they simply don't pay enough, particularly in the litigation field. And I know even during the time when we graduated, I know very, very distinguished lawyers would actually say, you should consider yourself, an honor to actually work with me. Forget talking about money.
That's why I'm not charging you.
That's right. So the question is, how do you deal with that, Roshan, particularly for those who may not have that family backing and financial, backing for those early years?
So yeah, that's a very valid question, and I'm glad I'm having a chance to answer this. So as I mentioned initially, I was fortunate enough to have a house in Delhi, and as a lot of batchmates of mine tell me that while I've done in this limited period of time, I've done fairly well. But obviously, I did have some sort of an advantage because I had a house in Delhi, which a lot of friends of mine who are probably working abroad or working in the top firms in the country did not. So yeah, to that extent, that's a very relevant question, and it is definitely true that money makes a lot of difference, and money is very important to sustain oneself. But you see, the answer that I have for that is, firstly, a litigator who's joining the profession has to assume this, or has to accept the reality that money will come after 10 years. The first 10 years will be tough. that's how life, in some ways just throws you things and you have to accept it. You can't challenge it. You just have to internalize the reality. And the reality is that first 10 years are going to be tough. Now, having said that, it's important to sustain. So I think the culture is changing, and I think good chambers are, compensating well. In fact, what they are, one of the models which I have at my chambers, and I can see a lot of, friends of mine or seniors of mine who are running chambers employing that model, is that they have a fixed compensation, which is, let's say, for someone who's beginning, let's say, a 25 or a 30,000 per month. And then they have incentives on, let's say, drafting and research and, all of that, so that the young chamber owner, which, like, for example, me, does not have a fixed cost as a fixed commitment, so that, the expenditure is, balanced. And but if the chamber generates work, then, on the work generated, the compensation is trickle down to the associates. So it's changing, but again, if you work very hard for the first 10 years, then trust me, I've not actually crossed that threshold as of now, but I'm sure that if we work hard, then we will also get to live a very lavish life, if I may use the word, later on. So it will be well compensated.
Thank you very much, Roshan. Ladies and gentlemen, for all those of you who are watching, we are indeed coming to the end of this program. I'm afraid I have not been able to answer those 50 plus questions, but keep watching our future programs and we'll take up some of them. I have one last question to our distinguished panelists here. For those students of law who are watching this program, what would you like to tell them about a career in law, especially as they experience the uncertainty of this crisis along with their studies in law schools? Based on your personal stories, what is that important advice, suggestion, some sort of a mentorship that you would like to give to the aspiring lawyers who are attending and participating this discussion? Let me begin with Vinita.
Yes. So I think my advice to the young students is to not get bogged down by the fears of the unknown, and and a positive attitude takes you far in life. So there are uncertainties, but like we have mentioned, that there will be opportunities that arises out of even the deepest of crisis. So, and just work hard and success will follow.
Thank you so much, Vinita. Pramod.
Professor Rajkumar, one book has a lot of influence in my career. That's Before Memory Fade by Mr. Fali Nariman. So I would advise the young lawyers to read the book and know the importance of the chamber and colleagues. First, you must be loyal to your chamber, your senior, honest with your brief. Don't think yourself as an employee. There is no concept of the employer and employee in this profession. You are from the very noble profession. You are professional, and always try to work hard. Try to establish your importance in your chamber. You are indispensable. Everything is dependent upon you, and never compromise with your ethics. There would be so many hurdles, so many problems, financial problems that would be sorted out, because first 10 years, that's rightly been pointed out, the first 10 years, there is only work, no money, then work with money, then only money, no work. So you will have to patience, and there should not be anxiety to become a very rich lawyer in your starting. Be patient and devote as maximum as you can do, and be updated with the case law, thorough with your brief, be polite with the judges, try to learn how you will deal with the client, participate in the client council meetings, give your advice, and be honest with yourself. This is my only advice.
Thank you so much, Pramod and Vinita, for that very compelling and very inspiring set of suggestions and mentoring. Let's have Saket, please.
Yes, Raj. So, the first thing I advise the students who are watching this is, please be sure whether you want to do this as follow this career, because not everyone may have aptitude. I've seen some extremely smart people who are not happy while working, very smart, very intelligent, and have also left thereafter and gone ahead and done. One in fact ended up in the film industry, who used to work with us. So you see, you have to be absolutely sure that, as Sudhir had said, that at 28, 29, whatever be your age, as long as it's your calling, you love it, you will enjoy it, because it's not an easy ride. It's going to take time. Success won't come overnight. This is not a software business where your app sells or whatever, your product sells and it multiplies. There's only limited time that you have, and there's only limited outcome that can come out of it. You have to optimize whatever you have. So it takes a lot of patience, perseverance, hard work, and you have must be open to learning. Open to reason. You learn a lot from your seniors, your colleagues, just watching proceedings in court. So pick up the right skill sets, keep learning, keep evolving, and all will be well.
Thank you so much, Saket. Sudhir.
So first, let me tell you, it won't take you 10 years now. In our time, it used to take 10 years. So let me assure you, if you disrupt the model and if you are very compelling in your work, I have two partners in my office. None of them have completed 10 years, and they both are driving better cars than me. So let me first tell you that one fact. Secondly, but yes, exceptionally disruptive. That is the statement. If you don't have to become a civil lawyer or a criminal lawyer just because Pramod Dubey you have just heard and he's a great criminal lawyer, or our good friend Saket is a transactional lawyer. You have to decide that what will be that one disruptive practice where you have more liking. The moment you identify that liking, go and become absolutely crazy like a Virat Kohli or absolutely crazy like Sachin Tendulkar. Don't look at money. Keep on talking about Goddess Saraswati. Lakshmi will come as a byproduct, and she will take care of everything.
Thank you so much, Sudhir and Saket, for that words of wisdom, and Roshan.
Yeah, so I mean, the esteemed panel has already covered, all the important points. I will just say one thing, that read, and read. Read for 8 hours every single day. Download the latest judgments from the Supreme Court, from the High Court. Sit down at a place which is serene, silent. Don't have a phone with you that in those 8 hours, and read. And you can keep all the rest of the time, to talk to your clients or to be wherever you are. But for 8 hours, read. That will be my read.
Thank you very much. Well, what can I say? What an extraordinary set of individuals who have made a mark in their life and have inspired a new generation of lawyers. I want to personally thank Vinita Bhargav, Pramod Kumar Dubey, Saket Shukla, Sudhir Mishra, and Roshan Santalia for accepting our invitation to be part of this panel. They said many things today, but the most important thing that they've said and stood by it is that they have spent a lifetime of hard work, determination, dedication, and also a never say no attitude. They've also been able to draw new paths and focus on innovation and creativity within their profession, promoted entrepreneurship, but the heart of what all of them did is they pursued a calling in life. So with those words, I would like to thank my distinguished colleagues and friends who accepted our invitation to be part of it. I also want to thank Live Law for being a partner in this endeavor. As you know, OP Jindal Global University and Jindal Global Law School is promoting this as a public interest initiative, and I look forward to seeing you on Saturday, 4th of July, on the next episode, which we call the Corporate Governance Colloquium, on the theme Reimagining the Future of Corporate Governance, Law, Policy, and Ethics. We have a very distinguished set of speakers there. Ms. Alina Arora, partner Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas, Dr. Akhil Prasad, Director, Country Council India and Company Secretary Boeing, Mr. Suhail Nathani, Managing Partner, Economic Loss Practice, Dr. Rajiv Oberoi, Senior Group President, Governance and Control, Yes Bank, Mr. Bharat Vasani, Corporate Partner, Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas. I will see all of you on 4th July, Saturday at 6:30 p.m. Till then, I would like to once again thank all of you for your presence. Thank you to all of you for being here and continue to inspire all of us.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Professor Rajkumar, and all the faculty members, all the participants, and the panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.